Hello and welcome to the second video in this tutorial series, JavaScript for Absolute Beginners. What we are going to be doing in this second video is writing our first line of code in JavaScript. And in doing so, we are going to change the appearance of a web page. We're going to change the content by manipulating the HTML, and we're also going to change the styling by changing the CSS. So for this video, I've created a new project folder on my desktop, and inside there is an index.html file. I'll just open that up so you can see what's inside. It's just hello from index.html with a my web page document title, and I can show you the base HTML. Here it is. So it's really boilerplate HTML with a h1 tag, and I've added there the ID of title. And I've also changed the title of the web page, but that is all that I've done. Otherwise, it's really just boilerplate HTML. Now, this ID is going to be important later because this is the way that we're going to be able to select this element using JavaScript. So let's start writing some JavaScript now. I'm going to close our HTML files, the source and also the browser that's displaying it, and I'm just going to open an empty Notepad document. So almost all developers, when they're writing JavaScript, they use an integrated development environment or IDE. To demystify the process though, I'm just going to be writing the first line of code in an ordinary Notepad document so that we're working with something that will be familiar to you so you can better understand the essence of the process of making JavaScript run in a browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, in this code, throw an alert, and what I pass in is a message, and I'm going to say hello from script.js. That's what we'll call our file. And what this is going to do is this is going to create a dialog box with this message on screen. You'll probably be familiar with these. Okay, so I'm going to save the document inside the new project folder. I'm going to call it script.js. So now if I go into the new project folder, you're going to see that this is recognized as JavaScript. So as long as what we've written here is valid JavaScript, which it is, this will work in the browser. So the next question is, how do we get JavaScript to run in the browser? Well, a really easy way to do it is, I'm just going to copy this line here. We can open the browser and right-click, inspect, and that's going to bring up the DOM here. So we've got our body with our title in, and then if I head over to the console, we can actually write JavaScript directly into the console and it will work. So I'm going to just start with 2 + 2. You can see the result is logged there. And I'm also going to run this alert script here. And as you can see, our alert has been displayed. But this isn't the way we usually run JavaScript in the browser. Here we're actually inputting it as a user, whereas we want this to be run by the page, independent of us as a user running it. That's the whole point. So how do we make it run in the browser without entering it manually like this? Well, we can do it by linking to our script from the HTML file. So the best practice way of doing this is to put the script just below the closing body tag. And so we write script, and then we have to enter the source of the file. So it's our JavaScript file is in the same directory, so we can just say script.js. Then we close script tag, don't have to put anything in there. Okay, so I'm going to save that now, and if I refresh this page, now you'll see that the alert has been created by the page. I didn't enter anything in the console this time, so we are successfully running JavaScript in the browser properly now in the way that you would in a real project. Now, before moving on, I want to discuss quickly the script tag, because this is something that catches people out a lot. So sometimes people will try to run the script like this. They'll put it in the head and then try and manipulate the DOM in some way, for example, change this content, and it won't work. And the reason is that the browser executes HTML file from top to bottom. So but when the script runs, the content hasn't loaded, and if you try manipulating the content before it's loaded, then it will throw an error. So it's good to put it down here just above the closing body tag. But if you do want it in the head, you can add an attribute defer, and that will make the script load after the content has loaded, even though it's in the head. So really, you've got these two options. You can have it in the head with defer, that's one way, or just in front of the closing body tag like we had before. Now there is one more way that you can run JavaScript in the browser, and that is by entering JavaScript between the script tags and getting rid of the source. So if I take this alert that we had earlier and copy this, if I copy this in between the script tags and I refresh the page, that will run as if it was in that external script still. But it's not, it's in our HTML document. This is generally considered bad practice in a real project. Maybe sometimes if you just want to test something, it's okay, but generally speaking, it's better practice to have your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in separate files. So let's revert back to how we had it before, with our JavaScript being run from an external file. So it's script.js. Now to finish, let's manipulate this page a little using JavaScript. So I'm going to head over to my file that we've linked to now. So we're going to be looking at how we can manipulate a web page in more detail in future videos in this series, but just for now I'm going to make some basic changes just to show you how it works. First of all, the way that we access a web page is we call document. You may have heard of this term document object model. Well, document actually refers to, let me open up the inspector tools, this. We can manipulate this in the DOM, and we can also manipulate the styles that are associated with each of these. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've called document, so I'm accessing this. And then to get inside the document, I use dot notation. So I can say document.body, and now I'm accessing the body. And what I want to do is set the background color to something else other than white. So I'm going to go change the style properties in the body. So this is applying this to the body now. And then I can just write in CSS here, just regular CSS. So I can say background color. I'm going to change that to blue. Okay. And now if I save this and refresh the page, you should see that we've now got a blue background color. Now let's change the text. So to do this, we use document dot, and then instead of going right into the body, we just call this method get element by ID. And this is why it was important to have an ID of the H1, because we then write this in here. The ID was title, I think. So the ID is title, yes. Then we can manipulate the title. So one thing we can do is change the actual content inside there by using text content. So let's say here, hello from script.js. So that will change the text content of the title. And we can also change the color of the title. So let's do that now so it stands out a bit more. So exactly the same document.getElementById title. And then we access, again, like we did for the body, the style property of this element. And we just write in the CSS we want to here. So we could say color white. Okay, and I'm going to save that, and that should now change that has changed the text to hello from script.js, and it's now white. So this is very basic DOM manipulation, but this is how we do it in principle. And just to talk you through the process, we've got our HTML document here. The browser is executing all of this, including rendering the title to the page, and then it's running our script, and we're making these changes. Now, it's happening so fast that you can't see it, but just for a split second there, you might see the original title. It's changing it immediately to hello from script.js. Usually we would be changing this for elements on the page in response to a user-generated event, but in this case, just to show you in basic form, I've done it without responding to an event. You can also see here in the live representation of the DOM that we've now got this style color white. We've also got the style color white here, different text, and the body has a different CSS style applied to it. Okay, so that is it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how you can install Visual Studio Code, which is a much better environment for writing JavaScript than Notepad.